The night he was kicked out, it was raining so hard that even the streetlights looked like they were crying. 17-year-old Daniel stood on the porch with a backpack in his hand and his father's final words still echoing in his ears. "If you walk out that door, don't ever come back." The door slammed before he could answer. And just like that, he was alone. No money, no plan, no place to go. What he didn't know was that within the next 24 hours, hiding inside a dark, forgotten cave would lead him to something that would change his life forever. If you love powerful stories with unexpected emotional turns, make sure you like this video and subscribe to Emotional Twist right now. We share stories that stay with you long after they end. And trust me, this one is worth staying for. Daniel had always known his home wasn't safe. His father's temper was unpredictable, like a storm that formed without warning. Some days were calm. Other days, one small mistake could turn into shouting, broken plates, and doors slammed so hard the walls shook. His mother had passed away when he was 10, and after that, something inside his father hardened. Grief turned into anger. Anger turned into blame, and most of that blame fell on Daniel. That night, the argument started over something small. It always did. Daniel had stayed late at school to finish a project. His father accused him of lying. Voices rose. Words were thrown like knives. And then came the sentence Daniel had secretly feared for years. Get out. Now he walked down the empty road with rain soaking through his hoodie. His phone battery was at 12%. He had $23 in his pocket. He thought about calling a friend, but pride and shame stopped him. He didn't want anyone to see him like this. After 2 hours of walking, the town lights faded behind him. The road turned into a dirt path leading toward the woods. Daniel had explored these woods as a kid. He remembered there was an old hiking trail that led to a rocky hill. And somewhere near that hill there was a cave. It wasn't famous. It wasn't on any tourist map. Just a hollow in the earth that local kids used to dare each other to enter. With nowhere else to go, Daniel made a decision. He would hide there for the night. The rain slowed to a drizzle as he reached the rocky hill. His shoes slipped on wet stones, and his heart pounded. Not from fear of the dark, but from the reality of his situation. He was homeless. The word felt heavy in his chest. The cave entrance was smaller than he remembered. Vines hung down like curtains. Cold air drifted out from inside. He hesitated for a moment, then turned on his phone flashlight and stepped in. The inside smelled like damp earth and old stone. Water dripped somewhere deeper within. The cave opened into a wider space about 20 feet in. It wasn't comfortable, but it was dry. Daniel dropped his backpack and slid down against the wall. For the first time that night, he allowed himself to cry. Not loud, just silent tears that mixed with rainwater on his face. He didn't know when he fell asleep, but he did. The next morning, sunlight filtered faintly through the cave entrance. Daniel woke up stiff and cold. His phone battery was at 3%. He turned it off to save it. Hunger hit him hard. He hadn't eaten since lunch the day before. He stepped outside and looked around. The woods felt different in daylight. Less scary. More open. He found a small stream nearby and drank water from it after letting it run over his hands first. It wasn't ideal, but it was something. He told himself this was temporary. Just a few days. He would figure something out. When he went back inside the cave, something caught his eye. A small metallic edge sticking out from behind a pile of rocks near the wall. He was sure it hadn't been there last night, or maybe he just hadn't noticed. Curiosity pulled him closer. He moved the loose stones carefully. Beneath them was a small, old metal box. It was dusty, slightly rusted, but intact. His heart raced. Who would hide something in a cave? For a second, he considered leaving it alone. It didn't belong to him. But then he thought about his empty stomach, his uncertain future, and the fact that whoever left this here probably did it years ago. He opened it. Inside were old papers, a leather-bound journal, and something wrapped in cloth. He unwrapped the cloth first. It was a silver pocket watch, surprisingly clean compared to the box. On the inside lid, small engraved words read, "For the days you feel lost, keep going." Daniel's throat tightened. He picked up the journal next. The first page was dated 28 years ago. The handwriting was neat but slightly faded. It belonged to someone named Thomas Hale. Daniel sat down and began to read. Thomas wrote about being 19, alone, and running away from an abusive home. Daniel froze. The similarities were chilling. Thomas had hidden in this exact cave during a snowstorm decades ago. He had written about feeling worthless, unwanted, and angry at the world. But as the pages turned, the tone changed. Thomas described how he used the time in the cave to think, to plan, to rebuild himself mentally before stepping back into the world. He wrote about small goals, finding work, taking night classes, saving every dollar, learning to control his anger instead of letting it control him. One entry stood out. Pain can either trap you or train you. I decided it would train me. Daniel read that sentence 3 times. As the journal continued, Thomas explained how he eventually started a small construction business. It grew slowly, very slowly, but it grew. He wrote about setbacks, about sleeping in his truck, about people who doubted him. And then he wrote about the day he hired his first employee, the day he bought his first office, the day he forgave his father, not for his father's sake, but for his own peace. The last entry was dated 15 years ago. I'm leaving this journal here for anyone who finds it. If you're reading this, maybe you feel alone. Maybe you think this is the end of your story. It's not. This cave is not your grave. It's your reset. Daniel closed the journal slowly. For the first time since being kicked out, he didn't feel completely hopeless. He didn't magically have money. He didn't suddenly have a home. But he had something else. Proof. Proof that someone else had stood exactly where he was standing. And survived. This is Emotional Twist, where every story reminds us that sometimes the worst night of your life becomes the reason your future shines brighter than you ever imagined.